Firstly, everyone, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, everyone, those who are living across the countries. So before we start the second session on the law of karma, I would like to request everyone to kindly keep your videos on and put your microphone on mute. Thank you so much. And I'm Tenzin Dhamma, Program Coordinator of Tibet House. Before I would request Kishila to proceed the session, and I would like to make a few announcements since I did yesterday, and some of you are new to this session. So I would like to remake the announcement that firstly, we are offering the Nalinda Diploma Course Batch 3, which is one of our major Tibet House courses. And the main aim is to acquire of various Buddhist subjects in order to deepen their understanding and Dharma practice. To let you know how this course was formulated, after the successful launch of the ongoing 5 years Nalinda Master's course by His Holiness the Dalai Lama, our director Geshe-la especially felt that there is a genuine need in modern world to introduce the rich legacy of the Nalinda tradition in a systematic and comprehensive way to be delivered through a shorter duration courses. Therefore, we introduced the Nalinda Diploma course in Buddhist philosophy in 2018. The first batch successfully graduated in 2019, and the second batch is on the verge to its completion. More than 1,200 participants from 44 countries across the world have benefited from these two batches of Nalinda Diploma course. So this year we announced the third batch of Nalinda Diploma course. The registration is open and will remain open until 31st August. And the teaching will commence on 1st August, this coming August. And it is a 10 months course and will be taught in English language. And we provide a 75% scholarship to monastics and students, while the participants from ND's Nalinda Diploma course Batch 1 and Batch 2 and Nalinda Master's course Batch 1 can avail 50% scholarship on this course fees. And this is also a huge opportunity to join this time for Nalinda Diploma course Batch 3, is that perks of joining for this course that's could able to join for the Nalinda Master's course Batch 2, which will commence at a later time. And as Nalinda Diploma course Batch 1 and Batch 2 are waiting to join the Master's course Batch 2, so therefore only the NDC Nalinda Diploma course Batch 1 and Batch 2 and the coming batch, the students can able to join for the Nalinda Master's course. And secondly, NUC Medical Dharma Circle Singapore organized a 3 parts of Buddhist medical series. And the speaker is Geshe Abdullah. The first session was completed with the topic of convergence and divergence between the views of the Buddha and Charles Darwin. And those who would like to watch the videos, the videos are already uploaded in Tibet House YouTube, and you can watch through our Tibet House YouTube channel. And the second session will be held on 19 July at 4:30 p.m. Indian time, with the topic Buddhist philosophy and meditation for a greater meaning of life for our medical professionals. And the third session is on Buddhist view on compassion, euthanasia, and abortion on 16th August at the same time, 4:30 p.m. Indian time. And the third session would be, third announcement would be the Tibetan Canadian Culture Center based in Canada is also organizing a Buddhism youth series led by Geshe-la, which divides into 3 sessions. The first session is on convergence and divergence between quantum physics and Buddhist philosophy on 27 June in the evening, Indian time, 8:30 p.m. And the second session is on Buddhist philosophy of emptiness and dependent origination and its application in our daily life on 11 July in the evening, 8:30 p.m. That's Indian time. And the third session is on introduction of Buddhist psychology and healing our mental stress on 18 July at the same time at 8:30 p.m. And Tibet House also organizing a teaching on 3 principal aspects of the path. In Tibetan, it's called Lamso Namsum by Lama Tsongkhapa on Wednesday, 14 July, which the date also corresponds to Chokor Tujin, which honors the day that the Buddha Shakyamuni first taught the 4 Noble Truths in Sarnath, India, and it's considered to be the first turn the wheel of the Dharma, and we'll also observe the aspirational Bodhisattva vow on that day. And lastly, Ngari Gasiling Guwahati Center, based in Assam, in collaboration with us, we organized the Lamrim teaching program from 12 June to 14 August. So we are at the verge of 3rd session, which is on 4 Noble Truths. And today we are going to have a 3rd session at 7:30 p.m. And we kept our registration still open. So we will send you a reminder again of the link that those who want to join for this for the course and would like to join for the rest of course. And I'll share all the registration links and the details in our chat box. And please feel free to register. Those who could not able to catch up with my pace or are confused with the programs that I have announced, please email me at pc@tibethouse.in. I'll repeat, pc@tibethouse.in. And thank you very much. And I request Keshla to kindly proceed with the session. Thank you.
Okay, Tashi Dilek, all of you. Okay, some of you may be too early, very early good morning, and some of you good afternoon, some of you good evening, and some of you may be good night as well. Okay, it's a continuation of what we did yesterday. It's a very important topic on law of karma, what governs the world universe, what governs our own mind, and what governs the plight of our plight. Whether we are happy, unhappy, this is all determined by this karma. And to know how the karma operates is extremely important for you and for me as well. So with this in mind, the motivation, as a setting proper motivation, and let us whatever you believe in, like Buddhism, Bodhisattvas, Holy Mr. Dalai Lama, all these enlightened beings who you seek as a source of inspiration. Let us visualize them in the space in front of us, and as so loving, caring, and embracing. And likewise, your 2 parents and all your family members, including children, and all sentient beings around you, and imagining, visualizing that you are there to take care of them through your, the perfect creation of a perfect karma, extremely powerful karma. With this mind, let us first take let's recite the verse for the Efficient Bodhicitta, followed by the Dharma mantra, followed by Heart Sutra mantra. And with the best intention that learning about law of karma, I will make sure that I will make the most of my life by creating the positive karmas, by nullifying the past negative karmas. That is so important. Finally, who we are, what we contribute to the world, the wholesome way or unwholesome way is all determined by what karma you create, and that karma, what you create, entirely depends on how much you know of the karma, and then accordingly, then you see that you act accordingly, that only the positive karma is created, and you don't leave a signature of destruction on planet Earth, signature of unhappiness on planet Earth. Okay. Okay. Some constituent and used by great compassion, you taught the Immaculate Dharma to dispel all perverted views. To you, the Buddha with Dharma, I pay homage. And used by great compassion, you taught the Immaculate Dharma to dispel all perverted views. To you, the Buddha with Dharma, I pay homage. And used by great compassion, you taught the Immaculate Dharma to dispel all perverted views. To you, the Buddha with Dharma, I pay homage. Panye joda soge chonam na chanjo pardo dane gyapso che tage jinso kebe sonan tola benjere sanje drubare shu sanje joda soge chonam na chanjo pardo dane gyapso tage jinso kebe sonam ge tola benjere sanje drubare shu sanje joda soge chonam Chanjo bardo dane gyapso che dage jinso kebe sonamgi tola penjere sanje rubare sho. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By my accumulations to the practice of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By my accumulations to the practice of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By my accumulations to the practice of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. Okay. Let's recite this Heaviness mantra by reflection on the meanings. First, we'll read the meaning. What it said there, all phenomena arise from causes. The phenomena of, particularly the miseries, they arise from the causes. They are not to be blamed. We are not to blame somebody else. This all arise because of the causes. And of course, external factors there, internal factors there. And why we are meeting with the unfavorable external factors is again because of the own previous karmas. So all phenomena, particularly the phenomena of what I dislike, the phenomena of miseries, the fears, they arise from causes. And the causes, what the causes are, in terms of the contaminant karmas, in terms of afflictions, mental disturbing emotions. These to be the causes of the miseries is taught by the Tathagata, the Buddha, and how to bring an end to these. The cessation of the causes as well is taught by the great seer, the Buddha. But with this mind, let us recite the mantra 3 times. Om ye dharma hetu prabhavam hetum tesham tathagato yavatat esham chayo nirodham evam vati mahashramanaye swaha. Om ye dharma hetu prabhavam hetum tesham tathagato yavatat esham chayo nirodha evam vati mahashramanaye swaha. Om ye dharma hetu prabhavam hetum tesham tathagato yavatat esham chayo nirodha evam vati mahashramanaye swaha. How to the mantra? Just visualize that we are all in Rajgir, where the Buddha was presiding over the congregation, which actually happened 2,500 years ago. And Aravakuteshvara, Shariputra, they were in the two sides. And then this dialogue happened, and particularly finally precipitating in the form of this mantra. And we just imagine, visualize that Buddha Shakyamuni is exhorting us thus: don't remain in the fears of samsara anymore. Come to this ultimate happiness. And you're hearing what this compassionate teacher Buddha Shakyamuni is exhorting. You then inform this to your two parents and all your family members and all the sentient beings. Look, this is what a compassion teacher, Buddha Shakyamuni, is teaching. Let us not remain in fears of samsara anymore. Let us all go towards the ultimate happiness, leaving behind all the miseries and fears, and go to the state of fearlessness and the infinite happiness. With this mind, you haven't said this, imagine that all beings are so happy to hear that. They just sigh with relief and they happily join you in the journey of cleansing the mind, embracing virtuous karmas all the time by purifying the negative karmas and following this journey of Gate, Para Sambhade, Bodhi Swaha. Okay. Eatavon Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhi Swaha Tyata Om Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhi Swaha Tyata Om Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhi Swaha Tyata Om Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhi Swaha. Okay, before we proceed further, there are some questions, the very interesting questions, questions related to the law of karma, and questions are coming from Ms. Bhaskarji, who made the request of this teaching. And the first two questions, they're quite interesting. Is about the being the consumer of palm oil. And palm oil, no doubt, is related to the climate change, global warming, and so forth. So are we contributing? Are we, in a way, creating negative karma by being the consumer of the palm oil, which then eventually encourages the people, the countries who are involved with creating this palm oil, therefore being responsible for destroying or creating about the climate change, responsible for the global warming. So in what way, whether we are contributing, we are creating negative karmas. This is a very good question, serious question. And likewise, let's say that through election, we give a vote to somebody who is really not a good leader. And then this leader started to destroy, create schism, create division amongst the people, and creating so much of pain on the pain, corruption, scandals, and so forth. We as the one to cast a vote, are we creating negative karma as a part of this collective? Last time we discussed about the individual karma and the collective karma. Are we creating this collective karma? Okay, these are very serious questions. What I would say is that unfortunately, in fact, to go really deep into the concept of karma, there are more to discuss. But given that we have only 2 days, now today is the last day, we are doing it in a very short form, very brief. Otherwise, there are all these details as to what so what are the factors to be kept in mind pertaining to you accumulating karma, number one, and what are the karmas there, karmas which are done but not accumulated, accumulated but not done, not done, not accumulated, done, accumulated, and all these kinds are being discussed there. Then the next part is what are the factors involvement of which your karma becomes really heavy, and what are the factors involved in which your karma will become less. All these things are there. With this in mind, to make it very quick, the thing is that for a particular karma, we need to think of one, the motivation, then the object upon which you did action. Number two, the object. Then number three, the means by which you engage in this karma. Then number four, the end. Okay, I'll quickly explain what these four are. Number one is motivation, of course. Let's say that the vote, the election, and let's say that you know that, okay, this person, I'm totally against another group of people, and the two potential candidates. One, so this person will be the mindset is such that to destroy, to create so much a problem on the other group, and I want to create problem on this group, so I like to elect this person, which means that you are the motivation. Your motivation is already there to do something wrong, to do something harm on others. So the motivation is there, and then the object, this human being, this the candidate, or the whatever president, prime minister, whatever, and then the object is of the several objects are there. One, you cast the vote to that person, and then those people are going to be affected. Those people, meaning the other group, going to suffer for no reason. And then your means, of course, with so much anger involved, or the way, the manner in which you try to just encourage, try to mobilize, do all sorts of things to manipulate the election to that this person is elected. And then the end, if you succeed, then you just rejoice. I'm so lucky that now I'm able to fulfill my wish, and then now these people, they're going to suffer. Okay, if this is what happens, your negative karma is so huge. Whereas, let's say that you think that this person A, a potential candidate for the president, for the presidentship, or for the prime ministership, you think that this person is so good. Motivation wise is fine. Motivation is so pure. And you think that this person will really bring about the really good to the country and to the world. So with this motivation, and then eventually, when the person wins the election, then he does all the nasty things, and then you regret. In the end, you regret. So which means that you are engaged in the act of appointing this person, and therefore this person becoming powerful to create all these nasty things. Yet, have you done the karma? Yes, you did the karma. You did the karma as a part of this whole system. You did the karma. But did you accumulate karma? No, you did not accumulate karma, because the intention, motivation was totally non-existent to bring about the destruction of the harm to the community. Your motivation is just so pure. So you did the karma, but the karma is not accumulated. Okay, this is what we need to keep in mind. So we don't worry too much by learning a little bit about the karma, and then okay, I did this, then I must have accumulated karma. So your motivation plays a very important role. Let's not forget it. Likewise, palm oil. It's okay. You see the need of the palm oil, you buy it, and you see the benefit, and then you don't really have any thought about how that is creating about harm to the global warming and so forth. And then even if you know that it has effect on the global warming, but there's no choice other than to buy this. You are so desperate. You're so desperate. And some people, it's not that everybody should be just the same. No, the Buddha made it very clear that so therefore the mantra Gade Para Gade. It's not Gade Bodhi Swaha. It's Gade. There are many steps in between. So it's not like, so you should, okay, the law of karma, then you should be perfect. No, this never happens. So from 0, you have to come to 1, 2, 3, 4. This is how we proceed to 100, not just from 0 to 100. So therefore, the point is that some people have the capacity, very strong-willed people, the person who just says, okay, no to palm oil, or let's say that no to non-veg. Let's say that no to anything related to, say, the products from a company who is involved in, say, the animal experimentations, or who are involved in nuclear, the arms creation, and so forth. So when you know about it, you are very strong. No matter what, I will not even touch anything related to this country or this person or this company or whatever. If you can, wonderful, do that. And if you cannot, they say, then what next you can do? So in fact, you should think of the options. Option A, B, C, D. So that eventually you keep growing. Gade paragade means that your mind, the power of your mind should keep growing. It should keep improving. This is what is the encouraged by the Buddha. Buddha don't expect us to become enlightened the very next day, which is totally impractical. In fact, the Buddha's teachings are very practical. Okay, and the next part, which is so important, is the question. Very interesting question, and very can be very complicated question also. Is that the moment you accept the law of karma? This law of karma means that what we're experiencing is all because of the previous karma, and the previous karma is also because of the previous karma. If that is the case, then there is the element of determinism happening. Element of determinism, that everything is determined, predetermined. That is like the concept of the destiny. Okay, so if that is the case, how much would you give weight to the concept of free will? Okay, so the concept of free will versus the law of karma, are these two contradictory or these two complementary? This huge question. And okay, what should I do? Perhaps we'll do it. We'll leave it at the end. Say at 3:30. 3:30. We will leave this question at the end. This is a very important question. And meanwhile, should you have your own questions, please feel free to bring them up. And then we have like half an hour questions session. Okay. But Mr. Bhaskarji, if Mr. Bhaskarji and somebody else who's going to remind me, in case if I forget this question, I may be carried away by my own talk. Anybody who I should remind me? Okay, Gayatriji and Mr. Bhaskarji. So in case if Mr. Bhaskarji for some reasons he also gets carried away by my talk, then Gayatriji will remind me. Okay. Yeah, this is and the Gayatriji remind me at 3:30. And 3:30, I'm expecting more questions from others as well. First, I'd like to continue from where we left yesterday. Then we're going to discuss on, what are the means, how we can stop the flow of negative karmas in the future. In other words, how we can stop the ourselves engaging in the negative karmas in the future. Number one. Number two, what we can do to get rid of, purify the past negative karmas. Two things. Finally, we are determined by our own karma. This is a point. Whether or not there's a free will, the answer is yes, there's a free will. Free will is there. But at the same time, say what experiences we go through, experiences are nothing but the results. And the results, they should necessarily come into being by their respective causes. And these causes, the immediate cause responsible for all these results are your karmas. So the karmas determine, and the karmas, there are three. The past karmas, which we already did, and the future karmas, which we are which we are we are engaged in, and the current, what is in our hand now. So 3, the past one, how to purify the negative karmas. Good karmas, you rejoice. The bad karmas, how to purify them. And the future, how we can stop what I'm going to do after 10 years, what the negative karmas that I may engage in after like 10 years, potentially I may engage in after 10 years, how can I stop them? And then the future lifetimes as well. And then the current, what should I be doing? Okay, these are the 3 things that we need to keep in mind after learning, finding that there must be a purpose for any classes that we delve into. Okay, so with this in mind, just let the continuation from where we did yesterday. We are talking about yesterday we were talking about the classifications of the karma. One classification of karma is, say, the karma in terms of the how heavy is the karma, how destructive is the karma, how constructive is the karma. So that is referring to the heaviness of the karma, be it virtuous karma or negative karma, heaviness of the karma. And then what determines the heaviness of the karma? Okay, we did touch on this a little bit when I was when I was addressing the answer to the question from Mr. Bhaskarji. So basically, we need to think about, say, let's say, for any actions, one, there's a motivation. Number 2, the object on which you, say, engage in this act. And then number 3, the actual action, the means of this action, and finally the result. The 4 things are there. Let's not forget it. The 4 things are there. And let's say that okay, the heaviness of the karma. Let's say, let me give you 2 examples. One negative, one positive. First, the negative. Let's say that okay. Let's say that we shout at somebody out of anger. We shout. That's negative karma. No doubt, it's negative karma. No, whatever, in whatever way you want to justify your act of shouting at somebody, you cannot justify that. It is a negative karma. Okay, now let's say that this act of negative karma, when can this potentially become huge and heavy? And as what we discussed yesterday, that it becomes like a definite karma, a karma whose result is bound to be experienced. Let's say that the motivation, the anger, and the person to whom you shout. Let's say this person is your mother. And the motivation, let's say that it can be something very light versus something very destructive, like acute anger, or just suddenly a little bit of irritation. And they say the object to which you shout, or the person to which you shout, let's say just your neighbor versus your mother. And how you shout in a very casual way, or you shout in a more cynical way. 2 ways. And the result, you regret, or you feel a sense of gratification. Okay, I'm able to shout. I'm so happy that I've taught a lesson. So look, with this, I have given an example of, say, the 2 different objects, and say so one is lighter and one is heavy. So with the motivation, with acute anger, so much anger and ill will, versus just a little bit of irritation, and then you shout out of habit. So there, of these 2 motivations, naturally, the one with so much ill will, that is going to be, no doubt, that karma, over from the point of view of the motivation, that karma is much heavier as compared to the one done with the little bit of irritation, or just small minor irritation. Then the object, towards a neighbor and towards your mother, with the mother, the negative karma that you did, the negative act of shouting at your mother, that is going to be much heavier as compared to the what you did to a neighbor, because the mother has been exceptionally great, a source of benefit for you when you needed her the most, when you were so vulnerable, when you were so weak, and she gave birth to you. She actually brought you on this earth, number one. Number two, that all these many years, she just sacrificed everything. In other words, she's the one who is of greatest benefit to you in your life. And then when you do something nasty, that simply multiplies in its effects. So from the point of view of the object, the mother and the neighbor, because of how the two differ in rendering benefit to you, the negative karma pertaining to your mother is much more heavier. And the means, how you shout, one just very casually sound and casually shouted, and the other sarcastically and cynically shouted. The means, one is acutely said intense, and the other one is just very casual. Of course, with the intense means, that's going to be much more heavy. And finally, the result, you regret. You regret, then the karma accumulated that is minimized. No regret. In fact, there is a sense of gratification. Yes, now I'm so happy that I'm able to I'm able to teach her a lesson or teach him a lesson. So that makes the karma very heavy. Likewise, apply this to the virtues. Say the virtue act of giving something, act of helping somebody, generosity, and helping somebody, saying something nice things, consoling somebody. Say the motivation, just very casually console somebody or just casually give somebody. And then with the motivation, I should really help this person. I should really make this person happy. The motivation difference is there. Then the object-wise, your mother versus your neighbor. Or somebody who does not really require the person, somebody who's really not needy, and whereas another person who's really acutely in need of your support, your financial support, and giving, let's say, the 1,000 rupees, or let's say $100 to somebody who doesn't really need that versus someone who's really acutely in need. So there you give it to the one who's really deserving. The karma is much more heavy as compared to one given to the person who's not needed. And then the person who's a source of benefit to you versus the person who's just a casual meaning somebody who's not so relevant to you with respect to giving you benefits. Then the one that who has given you benefits, like your mom, your dad, and so forth, that would be much more the heavier karma in terms of even the virtuous karma. And then act of giving, say for example, say you already give some money, you give some, just throw it like this, versus give so much respect to the other person. The second one, of course, the same act, the same generosity to the same person, but because of your act of respecting the other person, that makes a huge difference. Your karma simply, qualitatively becomes different. Then finally, the end. And after giving, okay, yeah, it's fine. And then, whereas on the other hand, after giving, then there's a tremendous sense of joy within you that I'm able to at least help this person, to whatever extent it may be, but I'm able to help. I'm so happy. You rejoice in your the good karma. That is much heavier. Okay, so there's no one particular factor. You have to just, it is like somebody comes to the interview and then you're being judged from various angles, not only from one angle, right? How you speak, how you perform yourself, what your degree of knowledge, and then your presentability, and that say your integrity. So the person will be judged from all different points, and then in aggregation, you will be the selected or not selected for the job. So this is how the karma operates, whether the karma is heavy, not heavy. So overall speaking, it is determined on the basis of the multiple factors, particularly these 4 factors. Let's not forget this. Okay. Next, I like to go to the 2 points. One is, and let us keep in mind, believe it or not, that the some of you may not, or you may not be too happy with the kind of, the family you were born in. Some of you may not be too happy with the kind of the studies that you did. Some of you may be very happy that I'm born in this particular family. Some of you may be very happy that, wow, I'm able to, take up this as my subject in my university. Or I'm very happy with this school. Or some people say, no, I wish I was in the other school. And then even the people around, the weather condition, right? Delhi is so polluted. It's very hot in the summer, very cold in the winter. Or Delhi is an amazing place. The weather is very stable. When it's hot, very stable, not fluctuating like this. And the airport is right next there. Whenever you like to look for emergency, you can easily go there. And you can get all these things, big basket and all these online things, grocery ordering, so easy. Wow, I like this city. Some people say, I don't like it, I hate it. So the point is that, and then your family, your husband, your wife, your children, your parents, and your house, and then your government, and what? Okay, so, and the weather, and the COVID-19, and the next door neighbor who has COVID-19. You're so angry. Why this person brought COVID-19, COVID here? Now we are suffocated. We are all engaged in my room. Oh no. Let's see, what can I do to help this person, our neighbor? He must be so terribly, the unhappy. So what can I do to help? Right? So the point is that, so who you are, what is your thinking? What kind of environment you are born in? What kind of, say, the physical appearance, the good health, and all these things that you have, what do you have? And what kind of experiences, what kind of tendencies you have, tendencies. Say, the COVID, next door neighbor has the COVID, what can I do to help? Or how dare that this person, brings COVID now. Now I cannot even get out. So what is your tendency? In the same family, some react very positively, so compassionately, some react so negatively. Where do you want, in the same family, 2 siblings, 2 brothers, 2 sisters, with a contrast tendencies, mental tendencies, where did they bring these from? Where did they bring these tendencies from? So these are what is known as, these are all the effects of something, all the effects of something, all the effects of something. What is that something? That is karma. That's karma. In other words, everything that is happening around is all related to the previous karma. Previous does not necessarily mean that previous life. Just before we started the class, whatever you're doing, okay, still we have 5 minutes, so I'll put on the computer a little later, right? I have this thing to do. No, it doesn't matter. I'll just put it on, then I'll continue. I'll put my video off, and then I'll continue to do it. So all these things, your mindsets, they're all determined by your previous actions. That's for sure. That's for sure. And these previous actions are there, and because of that, now at the moment we are going through the experiences in the form of the results. And some of you are happy with that, some of you are unhappy with this, and some of you are so. And these, say, finally, we did this one thing, and then for a long term, we see that overall speaking, I have a nice life. the last like 50 years, I'm very happy with my life. Okay, first part of life was terrible as a childhood. Through my childhood, all this abuse happened, very terrible. And then they joined the monastery. Oh, that's nice. That's a golden era. Now, okay, right? Meeting with complicated people is quite tough. And then you say the meeting with the people in the dharma, that's very rewarding. It's very rewarding. And likewise for you, right? Okay, with the COVID, and now I'm not editing anybody. So in the family, just myself, my husband, myself, my wife, myself, my parents, myself, my children, and like this. That's very good. We have a good time together now. Otherwise, we never would have time like this. So lucky. And whereas for some others, it's very boring to see the same face every day, right? Yeah. So this is the how it works. So now the point is that, but if you look a little broader than this, then there's a sickness, aging, death. The tragedies are there. When you meet the tragedies, they are acutely painful. I don't want this pain. Even if you are a very compassionate person, when you go through the tragedies, you have the pain. I don't want to have this pain. This pain is a result of the previous negative karma. No doubt, no doubt, no doubt. Now the question is there a way by which, number one, to minimize these pains, number two, to get rid of the pains completely? Two, whether or not this can be done. This is a one plan that's related to the negative karmas to be purified, either initially partially, then completely. Two. Then second plan is that in future, given that what I want is I want fearlessness, I want happiness. So fearlessness, I have to engage in karmas to bring fearlessness. For the infinite happiness, I have to engage in karmas to bring me more and more happiness. This is what I should be doing, the future plans. And the past, what I did in the past, the virtues I rejoice. The negative karmas, non-virtues, I nullify, I purify them. How to purify them? And the future, well, how should I make sure that I engage in only the virtuous karma? These are two things that we need to keep in mind. So it's all for the reason that I am somebody, I'm meaning each one of us, we are somebody, each one of us, we are somebody who does not want suffering, who doesn't want fear, and who wants happiness, and who wants as maximum happiness. Keeping this in mind, and these are all related to the karmas. So remove the negative karmas which attract fears and miseries, and engage in the virtues which embrace happiness and expand your happiness. This the Buddha put it so simply. Let's not forget it. If somebody were to ask you, okay, you've been attending the teachings on Buddhism a lot, so tell me, in essence, what is Buddhism? Just say that. What the Buddha said: commit no evils. Don't do non-virtuous karmas. Purify the negative karmas, and don't do negative karmas further. Commit no evils. Number two, accumulate as great wealth of virtues as possible. Accumulate as great wealth of virtues as possible, because you want happiness. Embrace virtues, because happiness is a result of the virtues only. For example, if you want to enjoy mangoes, don't plant bitter gourd. Don't plant bitter gourd seed. If you plant bitter gourd seed, don't expect mangoes growing out of that. If you want mangoes, if you want to enjoy mangoes, plant mango seeds, not the bitter gourd seeds. Likewise, if you want happiness, plant the virtues, don't plant the non-virtues. This is the advice. And how do you do that? Buddha said, tame your minds. These are all related to your mind. So learn how to tame your mind, to discard, to do away with the non-virtues, and to embrace the virtues. Tame your mind. This is the teaching of the Buddha. It's amazing. And you can explain this in very simple terms, and you go to deeper to explain it in most sophisticated philosophies. Okay, the first part, how to nullify the past negative karmas. How to purify the past negative karmas. No doubt we involved ourselves in negative karmas, and okay, let me say, if I had to go back in my life, say sometimes what kind of negative karmas that I did, say unintentionally, meaning that without knowledge, each one of us, we must have done so many negative karmas, so much of negative karmas, without knowledge, without total out of ignorance, no doubt. Okay, they say then in this life and in the past lives, and how many past lives? So first, I remember when I was very young, maybe age 8 or 9, and I lost my mother. No, I lost my mother when I was very young. I lost my father when after completing my Deshi degree. After completing that, I lost my father. And so which means that since I could remember myself, remember my life, it was like since I was age 5. Before that, I could have still have some snippets of my life, like my mother, just embracing, caring, carrying 3 children, and like the small things I remember. Besides this, I don't remember too well. Since age 5, I will remember it. And particularly age 7, 8, so since age 5, now in this world, my father was everything for me. So I love my father so much. And then what happened was sometimes when I was a little angry with my father, then he was sleeping in my bed, and then sometimes my father would keep me a little warm, say in the daytime. He would just cover me up with his own coat. And then I deliberately tear his coat. So this young boy, age 6, 7, he was tearing the father's coat out of anger. Okay, so what I'm saying that these are negative karmas that they do. Likewise, how many such negative karmas we must have done without our awareness that these are negative karmas. And you have to account for these negative karmas eventually. Okay, so what I'm saying is that how to purify these negative karmas is one thing. For the past ones, for that there is what is known as the purifying the negative karmas by 4 powers, 4 remedial powers to purify the negative karmas. This is something that we need to keep in mind, we need to learn. Okay. The first power is known as the power of the basis. Power of the basis. And then number 2 is the power of the regret. Power of regret. Then number 3, the power of antidote. The power of antidote. And finally, power not to relapse. The power of the commitment not to relapse to the negativities. The power of the commitment not relapse to negativities. Okay, these 4. The first, the power of the basis. What do you mean by the power of the basis? That we accumulate negative karmas, we engage in negative karmas related to mainly 2 objects, either related to the higher beings like Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, Dharma, Sangha, and so forth. Related to high objects, let's say that you've been too disrespectful to the Buddha image, disrespectful to the scriptures, and disrespectful to the very compassionate teachers and so forth. And then or this is with higher objects and with the sentient beings, showing anger, all the 10 negative karmas, non-virtuous actions, stealing, killing, sexual misconduct, abuse, slander, idle gossip, ill will, and so forth, all nasty things that you do pertaining to the sentient being. So in other words, the basis with which our negative karmas are accumulated, they're related to the higher objects or the sentient beings too. So the first thing that we do is that, because it is on the basis of these two objects that we accumulate negative karma, first we rectify, create the sound basis for our purification. That is, with the respect to higher objects, to make sure that in future I see them as higher objects, not as not as with whom I relate as equal, or I just being disrespectful. So for that matter, we engage in what is known as the taking refuge. Taking refuge. Taking refuge. Refuge means I go for refuge in the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. Buddham Sharanam Gacchami. Dharmam Sharanam Gacchami. Sangham Sharanam Gacchami. So taking refuge, oftentimes, that serves as the basis, the part of the basis of as a part of your purification process of the negative karmas. Then for the sentient beings, we generate bodhicitta. Those bodhicitta may I become Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings, which means that we are not, with this attitude, we are not being scornful of the sentient beings, of somebody. We are not being, unkind to somebody. We just want to benefit the being. So this is how we reconnect ourselves with the higher objects and the sentient beings by refuge and the bodhicitta. So by doing refuge bodhicitta so well, wholeheartedly, that serves as the first power of the purification, which is the part of the basis. Next is the part of the regret. And for that, this is very important. Part of the regret is that the regret over the negativity that one has done. Regret over the negativities that one has done. Okay, now it will be good, not just that regret in general, but the real regret will come to us if you know the number one, efficacy of the cause and effect. Efficacy of the cause and effect, how the cause and effect, how the karma is so efficacious. Where you did negative karma, it will result into acutely painful experiences. And then look at all these, for example, say let's say that in some places, not necessarily in a special place, anywhere in the world, somebody can come and enter your room and can, just stab you to there or beat you up. These things happen. And just imagine if you are the one. Sometimes when I just imagine, okay, so this is something that can be, I don't know. I wouldn't really advise you to really do it, but if you can, it'd be good to do it. Why I'm saying this, that to make it very real, and then you will realize, oh, the law of karma is very efficacious, and the negative karma which I did, this bound to give rise to this kind of effect, which I've already experienced myself, and is so excruciatingly scary, painful, and terrifying. For example, what happened was that I think about 8-9 years ago, at about 10 p.m., I was not really expecting anybody to knock at my door. At 10 p.m., and somebody was knocking at my door, and that too, not like a gentle knock, not like talk, but very aggressive knock, talk, like this. I was not expecting anybody at this late hour at 10:30. And then someone was knocking at the door, not just gently. Gently is fine. There must be a neighbor having a problem, and then asking you help, but very rough like this. I was really scared. Who could that be? Okay. And then I was looking at through the peephole, and then I saw that it was one of my nephew and his friend, two of them. And then I opened the door and I told them, this is not how you should be knocking at the door. At this hour, late hour, you should have at least called me up first that you are coming, and then I would expect you. And then you don't even have to knock the door. I will open the door. So what I'm saying is that these unexpected things can happen. It can be like any other person. A robber can be the one knocking the door like this and may enter the door and finish. These things can happen. We never know. It's very scary. How many of you have such experiences in your life? Similar to this, raise hands. Okay, most of you. So which means that these experiences when you had, don't forget. So oftentimes I say that you may have done some mistakes, or you may have gone through very difficult times. So don't let these bad experiences go unused. Make sure that you use them. How? Oh, this experience is so real. If this experience was to repeat it, and then multiply in intensity twice, 3 times, I cannot really bear it. I may go mad. Okay, so if this is what you've experienced, and these are the effects of the negative karma. For some people, these things happen one after the other, not just one time in a lifetime. It can happen one after the other. Believe it or not, it happens. So, and whether I can be the next person. I can be the next person who's go through this experience one after the other in 1 year's time, 2 years' time. We never know. Or you can be the next person. We never know. So now keep in mind that this experience is so painful and they don't arise randomly. They arise from their respective causes. Ye dharma hetu prabhava. What are these causes? Negative karmas, unless I purify them, is very scary when the results are born. Okay, so how should I purify this? First, I must have regret. I should not have done these negative karmas. I should not have done these negative karmas. What I've done, I've done. Now, henceforth, I'm not going to do this. I really regret having done these negative karmas. This regret is so important. So it says, Joseph Milarepa, the great saint who became enlightened within a single lifetime, what he said that finally the purification of negative karmas is all determined by the intensity and the degree of your regret. Your regret decides how much purification happens. So for him, Joseph Milarepa, he said that in my case, the regret that I have pertained to negative karmas which I accumulated is so acutely frustrating to see how much negative karma that I did. It's so like I'm seeing the red hand of the person who murdered my own father. How much anger you might have, how much frustration you might have, how much feeling of the anger you might have towards that person, seeing his red hand with the blood of your father. So this is what he feels towards his own negative karma. This is what he said. So if this is the kind of the negative, the regret that you might have, then naturally the purification process becomes very effective. This is number 2. So for that matter, it's very important to think about the effects of the negative karmas. The more and what that would be like if I go through these effects. Okay, say for example, like in some cases, the COVID. If you are COVID-free, then what if I would have the COVID? Very severe COVID, the problems and so forth, what they'll be like. So likewise, think of all the unfortunate things happening in this world and just imagine what if this happens to me? Then you'll feel the fear, and then these are negative karmas. And then you have a very strong repulsion towards the negative karmas. That is the meaning of the regret. That regret is so precious. That determines to what extent your karma is going to be, negative karma is going to be purified. Okay, number 2 is regret. Then number 3 is the antidote. So in simple terms, any virtues that you do meant as antidote to overcome the negative karmas, they become the part of the antidote. But of these, about the antidotes, we see that one, the wisdom of emptiness meditation, that is considered to be one extremely powerful antidote, because all these negative karmas, the ground is the self-grasping ignorance. It's the ground. Ignorance is the ground. In some cases, so vivid how ignorance destroys oneself. Forget about the ignorance of the past many lifetimes. Just this life, somebody so ignorant and destroying yourself. So once some people, let's say, in fact, this is what we most likely heard. We all doing these things, right? Things which actually destroy us, and we are fighting against something because of which it is fueling that you are being burned. That happens. For example, so many years ago, on a train, there was there was some passing. I was also on the train, and there was the one gentleman there, and what do you call that? The train ticket examiner. He was checking all the tickets of the passengers, and he came to that person. That person did not have the proper seat. He purchased the ticket, but he did not have the reservation seat. And then this train ticket examiner was putting him on penalty. And penalty is not like a fixed penalty. It can range between like A to 10 times A. It can range between these two. So the train ticket, the examiner gave him the penalty, let's say A. And the person was so angry towards the train ticket examiner. Why you are putting me on the penalty? Why should I pay? And so forth. And that train ticket, the ticket examiner thought that we can be in a position to help to explain this. And we were trying to explain this. Yes, that's very true, and so forth. And the train ticket examiner is very kind, because he's only putting into penalty A, not 10 times A. So you're very lucky. And he said, no, you are now citing the train ticket examiner. So what can we do now? So, okay, sorry then. Then the train ticket examiner, he becomes more angry. Then he put him to A into 10 times. So why A into 10 times? If you are given a choice, when your mind is calm, if you're given a choice, which penalty do you go for? A or A into 10 times? Naturally, everybody will say A, not A into 10 times. Now he's gone to A into 10 times, made by himself. It's all of ignorance. There's no way. If you don't pay this, you will put behind bars. So the point is that this is how the ignorance just tortures ourselves. In some cases, ignorance kills us. I'm not going to go to that extent of giving examples. Ignorance can kill us, kill ourselves. So we're not talking about the, so ignorance, self-grasping ignorance, then creating negative karma, that negative karma, then no, this is not the point. Even within this, a sensible person will never do such ignorant acts. A sensible person from any religion, even the non-believers, not engaged in these the ignorant acts. So this is what happens. I don't want to give too many examples. Okay, so in other words, the point is that all these the negative karmas, the final root is the ignorance, and the ignorance which has varying layers, and the final layer of the ignorance is the self-grasping ignorance. Ignorance seeing things as objectively real, while in reality things are all dreamlike. But this ignorance makes you feel that everything is like objectively real. So this ignorance, what counteracts this ignorance is the wisdom of emptiness. And this wisdom of emptiness, if you employ this, will help you to curb this ignorance, which is like the Earth's iceberg on which the whole, the buildings all the buildings were being constructed. When this iceberg melts, everything what is stacked on this building will collapse. In other words, all your miseries will collapse. All your negative karmas accumulated will be cleansed. Once this, the foundation of all these negative karmas, which is ignorance, once that is removed by the power of the wisdom of emptiness. So the actual remedy to cleanse the negativities is the wisdom of emptiness. One, this is the power of the remedy. And then alongside, we also have this practice of what is known as the Shri Vajrasattva practice. Shri Vajrasattva practice. This is particularly meant as remedy to overcome the past negativities. And of course, for this practice, we need to know how to make this practice most effective by incorporating the compassion, incorporating the wisdom of emptiness, and compassion, and the deities all involved there makes this practice very effective. Okay. Then they say the meditation, compassion, bodhicitta. So this again an extremely powerful remedy to overcome as an antidote to overcome the negative karmas, because the negative karmas, they are primarily related to anger. Somehow they are mixed with the anger, and the bodhicitta is the counterforce to overcome the anger. Okay, so these form and then some people, they engage in making frustrations like 100,000 times, 200,000 times, 300,000 times to making frustrations, mandala offering, and so forth, as a means to purify the negative karma. This is also fine. Okay, then finally, the power not to relapse to the negativity again. Power of the commitment not to relapse into negativities again. So once you engage in this purification, in the end we make a commitment, that promise that I'll not engage in these negativities again, and see how much you can keep the promise. This is so important. If you can keep the promise very, strongly, then to that extent the purification happens. And if you do not keep it strong, then purification becomes not as strong. Okay, so this is about how to purify the past negativities. And if you remember a very specific negativity that you did, pertaining to your gurus, pertaining to your mother, father, to your sibling, towards your colleagues, towards your friends, or whatever, towards the dharma, towards the sangha, so whatever, if you could remember any of these negative karmas, then particularly keeping that in mind, I regret having done this, I'll make sure that is purified, and henceforth I'll not engage in this negative karma. So that would be specifically the effective. Whereas if you don't remember, for example, the negative karmas which we did in the past lives, we don't remember. And in such situation, so in this life, say let's go through ourselves. For example, let's say that of course I was born in a very poor family, which means that they say in the past, maybe there was a time when I was not really engaged in generosity so much. Or let's say that I have a weak physical body, fragile body. Maybe in the past lives that I engaged in negative karma, not really support the ill and the sick people. Or let's say that let's say that whenever I have lots of facilities, but when I need them, like when I become sick, then it so happens that I'm always sick somewhere when I'm in a remote place, not near for example, my house is very next to so many the pharmacies, hospitals, but end up in a remote place where there's no the facilities for the medical attention. I become sick. This is what used to be. Okay, maybe that deliberately I was not rendering service to the people who are sick in my past life. So from there we can infer what kind of negative karmas which we did in the past lives. Okay, and likewise in this life, you start to learn dharma a lot, but then some people, they learn so fast, whereas I learn a little slow, or maybe in my past life, I must not have been a very serious student, right? Now in this life, I should be more serious student. I must dedicate more time on my studies and reflection, not looking for excuses. Okay, so from what we are today, from that we can figure out what we were in the past, what kind of karmas we did in the past. And then if they are the good things, you rejoice. Bad things, then you purify those negative karmas. This is what we can do. Okay, this one part, how to purify the past negative karmas. Now, what should we do in the future? How not to engage in the negative karmas in the future? For that matter, I'd like to explain to you what is known as the 5 effects of the karma. 5 effects of the karma. If you know what the 5 effects of the karma are, results of the effects of the karma are, then we will be very cautious, okay, how to engage in the karmas. You know, why engage in negative karma? It is extremely harmful in many ways. Okay, the first and foremost thing is that the karmas with the effects, karmas, you engage in any karma, you engage in any karma, virtuous karma, non-virtuous karma. So here, let's say that we can talk about virtuous, non-virtuous karma. The moment you engage in any act, for example, let's say actions are many kinds. Say, when I'm speaking, I'm using my hands. There's also a karma. I'm accumulating karma. And then say, when I speak, you are the one, like this is very offensive to the other person. Again, I'm like the accumulating karma. Okay, Sring Dawala, you are the one I'm talking about, right? In a nice way. Yes, I'm making a positive karma. Okay. Then let's say that I'm sleeping and I put my hand on my shoulder like this, sleeping, and then as I really fall asleep, and then my hands fall. My hands fall. There's action happening. That action, is that karma? No. Because this act, now, me putting my hand down, I'm deliberately doing this. It involves intention. Act which involves intention is karma. Act which doesn't involve the intention is not a karma. So for example, when I fall asleep, and then when I really fall asleep, and then I lost the muscle control, and then automatically falls. That is not karma. But the intention is not involved, it's not karma. But the intention involved, that is karma. Say, let's say that in the text, it very clearly says that, for example, you hit somebody or you beat somebody. There's negative karma, no doubt. And I say, you pat like this to somebody, yes, of course, that's karma. And then you hit a pillar like this, let's say, like this, is negative karma. It depends on the intention. If the intention, there's anger there and you cannot hit the other person, you hit the pillar, you are accumulating negative karma. Okay, so the point is that these karmas, when you engage in a specific karma, in other words, 24 hours, in 24 hours, how many such negative karmas and positive karmas do they accumulate? Enormous, enormous, enormous. So if you know what are the repercussions or what are the consequences, then you know that, then you'll be more aware of, you're more conscious of what you're going to be doing. You're more aware of what you're going to do. Okay, with this in mind, what kind of effects are there with your karma? So one thing which is so important is known as the effect, which is concomitant to the karma. Okay, effect which is concomitant with the karma. Number one. Number two is the ripening effects. Ripening effects, number two. Number three is environmental effect. Number three is environmental effect. Then number four is number four is known as the effect of the beings. Effect of beings. I'll explain. Effect of the actions of the beings. Effect of the actions of the beings. And finally, the effect of the cessation. Finally, the effect of the cessation. Okay, I'm going to explain each one of them. And in fact, of these, for us, the first three are more relevant. First three. The first one is the effect which are concomitant with the karma. Okay. The effects which are concomitant. Concomitancy, which means that effects which are very similar to the cause, to the karma, very similar. In what way similar? In two ways. One in terms of experience, and one in terms of in terms of actions. Similar in terms of the experience, similar in terms of the actions. Two. What do you mean by similar in terms of experience? Let's say that when you really, let's say that when you scold somebody and the other person feels really, feels so unhappy, and even the glow of the person disappears. Likewise, when you kill somebody, the glow of being alive is gone. So that is the experience other person is going through. Now, as a result of this negative karma of killing, or say it means somebody acutely sad, the consequence would be like that you're going to go through an experience which is very similar to what the other person went through, where in your next life you won't have to glow on your face, where in your next life mentally you always feel, you always feel like shrinking, suffocation. In other words, whatever the experience other person went through because of you having inflicted this karma, the same experience you will go through in the future. This is known as the result, which is concomitant with the karma pertaining to the experience. Number one. This is one thing. Number two is extremely important. That is, I personally would suggest that we all should extremely be careful of. The second one is the effect which is concomitant with the cause pertaining to the action. Action meaning what act you do. In the future lifetimes, there's a tendency that you will engage in the same act. So, for example, let's say act of stealing. Okay, let's say act of scolding, act of slandering, or any negative karma, or any positive karma. So let's say first negative, any negative karma, on this action, you are building a habit. So it will ripe in the form of an effect which is very similar to the karma, similar in ways of the actions. So in this life, you steal, the next life, the tendency to steal comes. In this life, you tell lies, in the future lifetimes, the tendency to tell lies. And in this life, you've been so kind to your parents, in the next life, the tendency to be kind to your parents. So that habit comes. So therefore, if you learn how to engage in the virtuous karmas, then meanwhile you accumulate the karma whose results are concomitant with this cause or the karma pertaining to the habit or pertaining to action. But the same action that you tend to build up over time, that is one's habit. You build a habit, good habit. So you'll carry this good habit in the future lifetimes. Okay, this is so important. So in this life, if you try to do things, staying away from saying no, unnecessarily saying nothing. This I've seen in the families. I've seen amongst the husband and wives, just unnecessarily, I'll say nasty things towards each other. One time, a gentleman, highly, greatly respected gentleman, he was in a way like inviting me to stay with him for like 3-4 days. And I said, no, I've already booked a room. And he said, no. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You just come. And then he's a highly respected person, so I cannot say no too much. And finally, I accepted. And I still have no clue why he said it, why he made this invitation so strongly, despite my insistence that I already have the room booked. And then I told him, okay, now we're going to your house, and you first call your wife that I'm coming. And he said, no need. Then I started to doubt what must have happened. So, okay, he did not call. And then we got into the car, and we got halfway. Okay, now you have to. Now I was more insistent, because I was not only going to his house. His house was being shared by his wife. So therefore, I said, okay, I told him that, okay, you have to call her that I'm joining you. And he said, no, Dorji, no need. I said, no, you have to. Then he called her up. Okay. Then we reached there. He was pushing me in the front. I thought as a courtesy to the guest. And the wife was waiting there with the two hands at the back, like this, waiting there. And I said, good evening, Mrs. So-and-so, right? Mrs. So-and-so. And she said, good evening, Dorji. And I thought, okay, today she's slightly different. No mind. It's fine. And then I got in. Then my main host, he was behind me. He also passed the lady. Then we got in, we were in the living room, and then I was in the living room, and then we just went to his room. Suddenly the wife blasted. I said, with the respectable, G, the label G behind the gentleman's name. And I said, Dorji, don't call him G. He doesn't deserve G. What happened? This is not what I expected. Then I realized he actually brought me here as a shield, as his shield. He knew that he was going to be blasted, exploded by the wife. Yeah. So what I'm saying is that I don't see any reason why they should be this fight. There's no reason. If this is how they live, why should you have to live together in the first place? Who's forcing you? Terrible. It's terrible. Terrible. And then I didn't say anything. Then I realized that, okay, I was a shield here for the next 3 days. And then he was looking for his wallet. He was not finding the wallet. And he was asking, where's my wallet? And then she said, I do not know where your wallet is. It's you who should be taking care of it. And finally, he discovered the wallet and it was misplaced. And he started to blast the wife, saying that you misplaced it. You are responsible. Then the wife was keeping quiet. I said, why are you fighting? You two are like small children. You are so respectable person. You're so respectable professor, right? And you two are like small children in your house. Fine, you have already found a wallet. If you have not found the wallet, you can fight. It makes sense. But you have found the wallet. It's just the misplaced is in your own house. So what's the problem? Why is there? In fact, you should thank your wife. Thank you so much. It's not, you have not thrown outside. It's inside. Thank you so much. I'm very sorry that I blamed you. Instead of that, why did you keep it there? You misplaced it. You were the one. And she said, no, I did not do it. And he said, yes, you did it. And then the fight is escalating. What's the point? If this is how you live together, where's the peace of mind? This is what I'm saying. So the point is that unnecessarily we are creating negative karma every day. So the point is that how these are the habits that you're building, and this habit you will carry to your next life. Next life again, you fight with your husband, you fight with your wife. This is what is bound to happen unnecessarily. Okay, so the point is how to curb these. This be mindful after knowing this. Okay, I'm carrying this habit, and when you find how many how many of these people who fight every day, the morning they wake up, I'm so excited today again I'll fight with my wife, I'll again fight with my husband. Who wakes up with that excitement, looking forward to fight, looking forward to have this anger, looking forward to have this anger to destroy one's own, the glasses, cups, mugs, and so forth of the house. Who looks forward to that? Nobody. Nobody wants that. Yet they readily do it all because of the habits built up. And this habit you are accumulating in your being, which you're going to carry to your next life. And you continue to suffer. This is how the karma operates. Okay. Now, knowing this, it is not easy to undo your habit, but this is the only way. We have to undo it gradually. Okay. The next is the ripening effects of the effects of the karma in terms of the ripening effects. So that is that, for example, say your overall health, your overall good look, your overall, say related to your physical body, related to your mind, overall state. This is known as the ripening results of the karma overall. Okay, in good ways, in bad ways. Good ways, the ripening results of the positive karmas, and in bad ways, ripening results of the negative karmas. Okay. Then they say the effects. Okay, I'll quickly finish these two, and then we'll go to the karma and the free will. Then the effects in terms of the effects of the karma as the effect of the actions of the person, meaning that we engage in action with the intention to accomplish something. And then when you actually accomplish something, for example, say that, oh, I like to do my PhD, and then you put so much effort. So that's the act of the karma. And then the action comes into fruition. So that is pure because of your act. For example, say some people say they with no effort, you don't do anything, and somebody gives you an honorary PhD, honorary doctorate, or honorary professorship, and so forth without any effort. So this is not because of your act of effort. So in other words, the karmas whose results, they are the results in ways, in the form of the results of the action, particular action done by the person. So like we say that, okay, this is like a self-made, what we call as a self-made person. The person put effort to become what he or she is. Okay, and then the next one is the result of the cessation, karmic result of the cessation. That is not the actual result. It's just a namesake. It's a namesake. Say that you put effort in cleansing your mental defilements, and finally your fear is gone. You have ceased your fears. The state of cessation of your fear come into being because of your effort, because of your particular effort. That is known as the effect of the cessation. That is not the real. There's no real effect. Effect or the result means it should be impermanent phenomena. It should be a competent phenomena. But this being a non-competent phenomenon, state of cessation is always non-competent phenomena. It's just a label given because that it comes to you because of the effort. So therefore, it is given the name, given a namesake, the effect of the cessation. Okay. So now we have another 25 minutes. I'll go through this, the free will and the karma dilemma. Okay, Gorilla, you have a question?
Krishna, just one was missed, the environmental karma, the point 3.
Gorilla, would you mind repeating your question?
Geshe-la, just one was missed in these 5, the environmental.
Okay, one is left. Look, because I was seeing the face of, they made 3:35. already 5 minutes past, so I was in hurry. Thank you so much. Environment. This is again a very important point. The effect of the environmental effect, which means that, say for example, some people, they are born in a place where everything is so beautiful, like river passing by, so beautiful, and the hills extremely beautiful, the meadows very beautiful, clean air, clean sky, no air pollution, and very quiet. It's amazing, spectacular environment. And some people, they're born in a place and the water is very dirty, is very steep, the mountains, and then nothing really grows, and it's so foggy, so dusty. Yes, of course. So these are the environmental results, where you create good environment for other people. You create, say something which is good to the other people. When you do that, then in future you will reap the effect of this karma in the form of you being born in a place where the environment is clean, beautiful, and so this is known as the environmental effect, environmental result. Okay, good. The next is the free will and the karma, the dilemma between free will and karma. And given that this is brought up by the Ms. Bhaskarji, so I'll just quickly go through this. I don't know how many of you are really aware of this debate. This is a huge debate, not only between the karma and the free will, is about the actions of the creator God, and the free will. These are all the debates going in the amongst the Christian theologians, Christian philosophers. And in fact, I would say that if you read these materials, in a way, we can say that these are very courageous people belonging to a particular religion. At the same time, they dare to ask questions. They dare to ask questions to their basic belief. And then, of course, some of them went through severe consequences because of their audacity to ask questions to their belief. And likewise, we can ask this question to a law of karma, who believe in law of karma. You can ask the same question, but don't worry, you don't have to go through consequences. Some people, they must have lost life because of challenging their basic belief by putting forth this debate. Yeah, some people, they risk their lives. But in Buddhism, particularly in the Nalanda Buddhism, there's a total freedom. If you come with questions which are as sophisticated, it is most welcome. It's most welcome, is never discouraged to come up with questions. So to what extent somebody like me or somebody like any person, to what extent person give the answer, this is a different story. Is the person's capacity or the person's talents or the person's degree of the knowledge. But the question should not be subjugated. The questions must be encouraged. This is extremely important. And okay, yeah. So the point is that this is again this is a discussion which pertains to neuroscience, which pertains to physics, of course, to philosophy, psychology, and psychology is not much related. And until somebody is intellectually so active and active and not, it is not really more into the clinical psychology, the medical, they're more something, that you should be on the ground to actually help somebody. For that, you have no time for debates. Whereas these debates are primarily for the physicists, for the neuroscientists, and for the philosophers, for the epistemologists, and so forth. And I do not so much for the chemist. Okay, but for the physicist, particularly the theoretical physicist. Theoretical physicists, the question is how this world came into being. This is the question. And then how this world came into being and whether or not there's a free will in the first place. the basic principle that one believes in, the workings of the universe on the basis of the physical laws, does it contradict with the concept of free will? Free will, which is so undeniably a reality, which pervades the human existence. At the same time, the physicists believing in the physical law which governs the universe. So are these two compatible or these two are contradictory? This is a huge debate. The next with the neuroscientists, they bring the mental function of the mind. They believe in today, not all the neuroscientists, but the majority of the neuroscientists, they believe in the reductionist approach. Meaning that the functions of brain can be reduced to the functions of mind can be reduced to the functions of the brain. This is the reductionist approach. And they look for which part of the brain is responsible for which part of the function of the mind. So with this, you cannot really account for the free will. The moment you reduce the function of the mind to the function of the brain, the free will cannot be accounted for, because the brain is a physical mechanical world, physical mechanical operation. So that follows like the physics, law of the physics, the physical law, which is deterministic in nature, and free will is not deterministic. So these two are contradictory. So where are the okay? Apparently, at least superficially, these two are seen as contradictory. You can resolve this free will concept according to purely neuroscience. Then the philosophy. Next is the philosophy. But the philosophy say unless until you embrace the philosophy of Nagarjuna, the concept of the two truths, the way the Buddha taught, form is empty, emptiness is form. Emptiness is not other than form. Form is also not other than emptiness. Unless until you understand this concept, there's no way by which you can you can escape from this obvious contradiction between the free will concept and your belief in the determinism, cause and effect and determinism. Okay, so where you understand, not just accept, where you understand the in-depth understanding of the concept of the two truths, the way presented in Heart Sutra, and as explained by Nagarjuna, the form is empty, empty form, only then you can resolve these two. One, the free will, which is undeniable reality that we see across the board of humanity. And on the other hand, we see the functional worlds of the functional physical world of the cause and effect. The karma, which is operating on the cause and effect, which tends to have the deterministic, fabric. And on the other hand, there is this free will. How can you see the compatibility? You can see the compatibility between two only if you understand the two truths concept according to Nagarjuna. So how does it work? I'm going to quickly touch on this, and then after that, I'd like to conclude with one very important takeaway for all of us. Okay. One, let's say okay, I ask you, what is this? And most of us will see that this is water. And I ask, what is this to the physicists, elementary particle physicists? Particle physicists, if I ask them, what is this? They'll say this is electrons, protons, neutrons. How you describe this and how the particle physicists describe this is very different. You describe this as water which flows, which is a liquid element, which is a fluidity, whereas the particle physicists explain these as particles, which is correct. Both are correct, but the two characteristics are contradictory to each other. The characteristics are contradictory to each other. Okay, but we say that both are correct. One is on the macro level, one is on the macro level. So free will is on the macro level, and the law of karma is on the macro level. There's no contradiction. Say, for example, I'll give you a simple example. If you ask me, I ask you, will I drink this water or not? What will you say? Sonia, what will you say? Will I drink this water or not?
Geshe-la, I couldn't hear.
My question to you is, will I drink this water or not? Now. Sonia, we cannot hear you. Okay. Mona Lisa, Dr. Mona Lisa, tell me, will I drink this water or not? Yes.
Gisela, if you are thirsty, you may drink the water, but if you are not thirsty, then you will not drink it.
No, I'm not asking you under what condition I may drink, under what condition I did not drink. This is not my question to you. My question, will I drink it or not? Just say yes or no. Or, I don't know. It depends.
I don't know. Yeah,
You
I
don't
don't
know. Why you don't know?
Because I don't
Because
know.
it depends.
Yeah.
It depends. Even if I'm not thirsty, still I'll deliberately drink it. If you say that you'll not drink it, I'll drink it. Even if though I'm not thirsty. You're getting it? So what is your answer? Anybody? What is your most sensible answer? Anybody? Neeraj, what is your answer? What is your most sensible answer? Neeraj?
It depends.
It depends on what? On the water? Okay, I'll share with you a very quick anecdote. There was once a debate between one great Buddhist scholar, Bodhisattva Aryadeva. Bodhisattva Aryadeva, and with another scholar who later became his student. Okay, two of them had the debate. See, both were refined scholars. Both were following, two of them were following two different traditions. One is Buddhist tradition and one is a non-Buddhist tradition. And two of them were having a heated debate. At one point, the opponent of Bodhisattva Aryadeva, the opponent held a bird in his hand, a bird, and asked the Bodhisattva Aryadeva, the bird in my hand, is it alive or dead? If you say is alive, he will squeeze it. It's dead. If you say it's dead, he will release it. So Bodhisattva Aryadeva said that it entirely depends on your compassion, which means it's in your hand. It's your free will. You're getting it? So therefore, it's my free will. Whether I drink or not, this is my free will. This undeniable reality is mine. This undeniable reality is my free will. Now what am I doing? Just look at me. I drank. And you can ask me, while it is my free will, you all will agree with me. And then you ask me, tell me, Gisha, what made you to drink? Then I would say that partly to challenge the opponent, and partly that I feel thirsty. For these two reasons, I drank it. So look, on the surface, I use my free will, undeniable free will. And then if you go in the micro level, Gisela, why did you drink it? If you go on the micro level, then I give a reason that partly I want to challenge the audience. Number two, that I'm a little thirsty, right? And why do you want to challenge it, right? Again, there's a reason there. Why were you thirsty? Again, there's a reason. Because I ate a food which is a little salty, more salty. Why did you eat the food which is a little more salty? Because there is no option, because there's the food, there was only food available there. If you keep asking, there's always one answer to the next question, to the next question, to the next question. It goes ad infinitum. This is known as the determinism. You're getting it? Determinism, or in other words, this is a cause-effect relationship. Cause-effect relationship. And on the surface, there's a free will. In other words, these two overlap. These two are not contradictory. These two overlap. You're getting it? But we must be in a position to really explain it so well that you should be convinced. Only then others can be convinced. If you're not convinced, you try to say that these two are these two overlap. If you're not convinced yourself, then nobody will be convinced, right? However much you may try to explain, nobody will be convinced. Okay, one time there was the professor, was a professor, MBA professor. What is that, MBA? Masters of? Business.
Master of.
Okay. There was a professor of the MBA, and both of us, we ended up in Delhi University, and he came there to recruit students from Delhi University, and the MBA run, I think, in a different place, in different states in India, far away from Delhi, and he came to recruit students from Delhi University. So I was there. I ended up in Delhi University to give like 20 days of philosophy teaching in the philosophy department of DU. So we are together in the same guest house, and then we introduced to each other. Then I came to know that he is a MBA professor, and we can know each other, and we become a little quite close to each other. And then during the break time, during the breakfast, we meet, and then he started asking me some questions. MBA means to teach, how to really administration skills and so forth, and also with the business. And he said that there's a topic, ethics in business. This is what I'm teaching. This is what he said. I said, okay. And then he came up with one question. He came up with a question. If you run a business with the principle of ethics, then you don't tend to make profits. So purpose of the business is defeated if you follow ethically. So how can you tell the students that no, with by being in the ethics of the business, still you can be very effective you can run a business very effectively. And then I try to give some answers, and then he said, yeah, this is also the same answer that I give, but the students are not getting convinced. And then he said that I'm also not convinced, actually. He said it very honest. He's very honest. He said, actually, I'm not also convinced with the answers that I'm giving. And the students, how can I expect? The students are convinced. Students are never convinced with my answers. Okay, so what I'm saying is this, how these two, the free will and the cause and effect, the karma, how these two overlap, unless until you are convinced, you cannot make the others convinced. You're getting it? Okay, now we have 6 minutes more. For this matter, what I'd like to share with you is finally that whether you are happy or not happy, if you can see a little further away from now, what you will be after 20 years, what you will be after 30 years, 40 years. And if you can go still beyond that, what will I be in my next life, and so forth, that entirely depends on what actions you engage in, what karmas that you engage in now. So that is so important. And these karmas, there's a tendency that at the moment, all of us, I can see that there's a glow in your face, I say the calmness in your face. And the very next moment, in about like 1 hour later, 2 hours later, that your face may become so twisted with anger, shouting at the mother, shouting at the husband, shouting at the wife, and so forth. You never know, it can happen, right? So how can we make sure that, okay, now these karmas, they decide who I am the next 5 years, next 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, and then the next life, and so forth. Okay, I must be very careful with this karma. how can I really administer this karma so nicely? In other words, how can I stop the nasty karmas, and how can I change my karma from being nasty to something very appealing? How? So these karmas, oh, no, 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 I'll change from tomorrow. I'll change from right now. No, it's not that easy. It's not that easy. If that is that easy, then we don't need all these rehabilitation centers, correction centers, rehabilitation centers. Why do we need these rehabilitation centers? Because it is difficult to undo our bad habits. So how to undo how to undo these bad habits? First, we have to know where these bad habits are coming from, where these karmas are coming from. These karmas are determined by our thought process. For example, say somebody says, "Hey, Dorji," right? Somebody says, "Good morning, Dorji." What good morning? If this is my habit, if that's my habit, where is this habit coming from? Bad habit of saying, responding to others, the morning greetings in a very negative way. Where this habit is coming from? The nasty verbal, physical expressions, they are coming from your thought processes, nasty thought processes. These nasty thought processes are known as afflictions. So first we have to know where these bad actions are coming from, bad habits are coming from. They're coming from the habitual, bad, or nasty thought processes. These are known as the afflictions. These afflictions are primarily, they hover around a tree. There can be millions of such afflictions there. How can I identify all? Don't worry. We see that there are three families of these nasty afflictions. One is where you crave. Your mind glues to the object and gets glued. This is known as craving, number one. There's one thing which makes your mind behave in a very different way. For example, say you like somebody. In fact, these things even happen nowadays. I can see that. In fact, there's one gentleman who was otherwise extremely nice. And then he requested me if I can be a part of his, in the advisory group. And initially seeing that this is, what he's doing seems to be so nice, very beneficial for the community. So I accepted. And that was also done to somebody else, giving my name to that person. So I said, I joined in the sense that he persuaded me. First, he requested me to give a talk. I give a talk. And then later he requested if I can be on the advisory board. So the first he asked me if I can be the chairperson of the one particular the committee. And I said, no, chairperson, no. So where I can give some help, I'll be there, but I will be in the back row, not in the front row. I'll be in the back row. Then I can see that what is doing on the surface is nice, but the behind, it's a little different from what is on the surface, a little different. And then so if that is how I invest so much of my time, energy, there's no point. And gradually I pulled out. And then how I pulled out, it was very accidental that the COVID, all these things happened, and then I was busy. So I could not attend the meeting so often. And finally, I sent a note, very gentle, nice note. And no reply. He since said, now I was pulling out. No reply. No reply at all. Even to say that, okay, I understand that. No reply at all. I wrote to him a very nice letter with his name there. No reply. So what I'm saying is that these are the things that we are bound to face with. Difficulties bound to be faced. So initially, when you feel that somebody is very useful to you, you're glued to it. And then when you realize that, okay, that's not happening, then you become very angry. So attachment gives rise to anger. So one is attachment and the other one is anger. One where you glued and the other one's pushing. One is pull and the other one's push. So these two are the things. And then the third one is the ignorance. You just flow in the ignorance, the river of the ignorance, just flow in the ignorance. One is the pull, involuntary pull because of the craving. One is involuntary push because of the anger. And then the third one's in between, the flow of the ignorance. These are the three families of the destructive emotions. So if you really want to stay away from the, say, negative karmas, undo the negative karmas, don't just say, okay, from tomorrow I'll not do it. Guarantee I'll not do it. I'll stop. No, if that is that easy, then the addictions. Why do we need all these addiction centers? Because it's so difficult, so difficult. So when somebody says, no, from tomorrow I'll stop the addiction altogether. If this is your attitude, you are just in the air. You are not finding the ground, you are in the air. Okay. So the point is that you have to first identify where they are coming from. They're coming from these destructive thoughts in three families, with three families. Involuntary pull, attachment, involuntary push, anger, and then ignorance. Ignorance, three of them. These are three families from which these bad tendencies are flowing. In other words, negative karmas are flowing. So now the next point is, where are these coming from? These destructive emotions, where are they coming from? This is the next question. Okay, this is more complicated. Say, these are coming, for this we have to now study the more closely of the Buddhist psychology. Buddhist psychology, how these emotions arise. When I say Buddhist psychology, it's not about ism, it's about a psychology, extremely refined psychology. How these emotions arise. Okay, let's say that I don't drink alcohol, and I say, what is that person known as? Something addicted to alcohol. Or let's say alcohol addict. Let's say, okay, Bhaskarji, alcoholic. Thank you. Okay, let's say this alcohol, we keep it there. We keep it, okay. Let's say Satan brings this alcohol and keep it between me and the alcoholic. And then when I look at it, because I don't drink alcohol, right? I wish if he brings apple juice. And the other person, the mouth waters. The mouth waters. I say that, Satan, why don't you bring up apple juice? The person, no, it should not happen. That's the perfect thing, right? What's happening? In my case, I feel thirsty, and how I wish that, why did you bring this alcohol? Why not apple juice? Okay, so there, what's happening in my mind? There's unpleasant feeling coming. In the other person, what feeling is coming? When they sell alcohol, pleasant feeling is coming. You're getting it? Pleasant feeling. So these aggressive thoughts of attachment, aversion, they are determined by the feelings. What kind of feelings coming to you when you encounter with a particular object? Pleasant feeling, unpleasant feeling. With a pleasant feeling, then the craving arises. Craving to this object arises. With an unpleasant feeling, aversion arises. Okay. Your next question. Where do these feelings arise from? Feelings, they arise from where? This next question. Why, to some person, this pleasant feeling arises when you see the alcohol. Whereas for others, the unpleasant feeling arises when you meet with alcohol. Why? Why this difference? Where are these feelings coming from? This next question. This extremely sophisticated psychology. Where these feelings come from? You're getting it? Okay. Let's say that I'll give you the internet analogy. Somebody hits you from behind. You are so focused on the top, and then somebody hits you from the behind like this. Like this. Okay. What is your reaction? What is your reaction? What will you do is that first you look at the person. Who's that? If the person is your neighbor with whom you have difficulty every day, then this unpleasant feeling comes in you. How dare you touch me? Whereas if you discover that this person is your brother, who was separated, who you love so much, who is separate from you for the last 10 years, is your brother, it's a very pleasant feeling arises in you. It's the same act, but depending on your perception, two different feelings can arise. If your perception is a perception of neighbor, a difficult neighbor, very unpleasant feeling arises, and then out of this anger arises. If the perception is perception of your brother, who you are separate from, who you love so much, and who is separate from you for the last 10 years, this touch is so pleasant touch, very pleasant feeling arises in you. Then you'll hug your brother. That is it. Attachment, craving, attachment. So these feelings are determined by your perception, which means it's a discrimination. Your cognitive thought processes. Your cognitive thought processes. So your cognitive thought processes, and of course this is not the symbol, it involves a lot of nuances there, many facets within these cognitive thought processes. Okay, I say it's my brother, and my brother was very kind to me when I was young. He always defends me. He always gives me. So whenever I'm in difficulty, he's always there to help me. Okay, I always proud of my brother. All these cognitive thought processes from the past, and this cognitive thought process, they all relate to a pleasant feeling in the past. So the memory of the pleasant feeling is retrieved by this simple cognitive thought process that is my brother, who disappeared from my life the last 10 years and who I love so much. So the pleasant feeling is retrieved. So with the pleasant feeling, you embrace, you don't push. The moment you see that is you are the complicated neighbor, then all this cognitive thought process that he's this complicated neighbor, one time he did like this, she did like this, and then the other day she did like this, he did like this, and I've been very kind, but the very negative response. All these cognitive thought processes, they pull together to give rise to the one cognitive thought, this is the nasty neighbor, and all these unpleasant feelings associated with this neighbor's reactions in the past, they're all pulled together to give rise to a very collective unpleasant feeling. That makes you to push. And then that push happening in your mind is anger. This anger manifests in the form of verbal aggression and the physical aggression. Okay, so the point is that finally how to stop that is to stop the physical verbal aggression or negative karma is by managing your emotions, destructive emotions. How to manage the emotions? By managing your feelings. How to manage your feelings? By managing your cognitive thought processes. So how do you manage your cognitive thought processes? That requires what is known as what the Buddha referred to as the train your mind, tame your mind, commit no evils, physically don't commit any evils. Accumulate great wealth of virtues as possible. How? By taming your mind, because this is all happening from inside the mind. Tame your mind, this is the teaching of the Buddha. Okay, this is, now the takeaway is that finally, physical, verbal, and mental, our negative actions, they come in the form of three. They come in three forms: physical, verbal, and mental. And of these three, the physical, verbal, they are easier to be controlled as compared to the mental. If I say that, hey, don't even utter nasty words towards okay, my friend is coming to you and you may not like this person, but he will talk to you. When he talks to you, don't say anything nasty or don't express physically any aggression or verbal aggression. Not allowed. Okay. If you still do that, then I'll make sure that you'll be rewarded. This is one option. Another option is that when my friend comes to talk to you, you are not supposed to have any wrong thoughts or any negative thoughts, angry thoughts towards him, which is more difficult. No angry thoughts allowed, or no physical verbal aggressions allowed, which is easier to be stopped. No physical and verbal aggressions. That is easier to control. Okay, So the first thing that practically speaking, the first thing that we have to learn is how to stop the physical and verbal expression of aggression. This is what we have to do. This is what is really in our hand, which we can do. If you don't do this, and then thinking of transforming yourself, this is just a dream. It's just illusion. This is what you have to do. Once you do that, then it comes to the natural, it comes to the mental. Then you see that in the first place, you start to see what's going wrong in your mind. You will see that. Once you see that, it becomes easy for you to manage these mental emotions. Then this is how, once the mind is under control, then this is like it's like what do you call it? It's the double effect. Say you control the physical and verbal, it helps you to control the mental. You control the mental and the physical and verbal, they're likewise under control or is taken care of. In other words, the first thing that we have to do is just try to control the physical and verbal, the aggression, like shouting at somebody and so forth, all these stop. In other words, of the 10 non-virtues, 3 physical and 4 verbal, they are to be really under control, kept under control. And then the 3 mental, which are actually what the Buddha presented as the 10 non-virtues, and putting the 3 mental, they are the very aggressive, very gross versions. Gross versions and the subtle versions. Gross versions are easy to be controlled, right? Ill will, covetousness, and the wrong view. So these are the very gross versions of the mental negativities. And then the 3 physical, okay, killing, stealing, and sexual misconduct, 3. And the 4 verbal, telling lies, slandering, then the telling lies, slandering, harsh words, and idle gossip, 4. And then the 3, the mental, I said already, ill will, covetousness, and the wrong view. So we have to stop these 10 non-virtues to the best we can. If you really want to be free from the fears of life, become very confident and expand your happiness. Okay, it's already 4:30 now. So if you have 1 or 2 questions, I'll be happy to entertain. Otherwise, we can stop here. If you have 1 or 2 questions, raise hands. Raise hands. Okay. Sonia?
Geshe-la, can you hear me? My connection is a bit poor. Can you hear me,
Yes, I can hear
Geshe-la?
you. Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. So yesterday you explained to us how pujas work, and in a way I understood that it's if the negative karma subside and our positive karma manifests, then in a way it seems that we are postponing the negative karma to arise, and the way to contradict that is with the practices that you told us today, the purification practices. And if I understood correctly, I'd like to understand how the power of antidote, like the Vajrasattva practice or prostrations to the 35 Buddhas, how do they work? They do work, but how do they work? Because the Buddhas, they cannot remove our miseries or our negativities. So doing those prostrations and those recitations, how do they work?
Okay. Okay, good question. Thank you. So basically, prostrations per se, recitation per se, doesn't really help. That's what you said is very true. Reciting by reflecting on the meanings of the mantra, meanings of the words that you utter, and make prostration with a full surrender in your mind. So the thing is that when you engage in negative karma is a feeling of the blind audacity to do things against for example, the Buddha would be very unhappy if the Buddha sees that you are, bullying somebody, and you have the audacity to do that. against the Buddha's will, who loves others. You have to adjust to do that. So when you surrender to the Buddha, okay, so I really appreciate you. Appreciate you what? For being so kind to everybody. So which means that you say that I appreciate somebody being loving to you, and I don't like you. These two are contradictory in your mind. So as you build the power of appreciate somebody loving you, so as you build this power, the other side is minimized, other side is mitigated. That is how it works. Good. Okay, any more questions? Okay, no question. Raviji, maybe last question, Raviji.
Oh, Geshe-la, at times what happens is that, we do all this pest control and which are at times, even though we tried the best to avoid, but at times, knowingly or unknowingly, some things can happen. So what happens, this is a very harsh way of killing insects or killing these things. So at times situations may arise in which we don't want to do it, but thing is that it gets created like that. What is the solution and how can we minimize this?
Okay, this is a very practical question. Thank you so much. Say the insects are bound to be there in your rooms, in your house, and wherever you are, insects are bound to be here. Say for example, say in the sink, you're saying sometimes early in the morning, you get up, you see that there are so many ants there, and then okay, I'm very sorry. Then you just let the tap on, and then you water, and all the insects die. No, this is not to be encouraged, not at all. If not at all, not because of the say the dharma, not because the dharma the sentiments, not because of that, simply because of your own, say the building your compassion. The point is that as you define what we want, we want the happiness. And what do you want happiness? We want expansive happiness. In other words, expansive happiness is directly proportional to your degree of compassion. Degree of compassion is expansive, your happiness is expansive. Degree of compassion is confined to 10 people, your happiness is confined to 10 people. That's it. So these two are directly proportional to each other. So given that this is reality, we have to build our compassion, expand our compassion in order to expand your happiness. So now expand compassion towards even the tiny insects. So in the sink, if you see the tiny insects there, don't let the water on. So first remove the ants first. It may take you, let's say 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes even, sometimes. Remove the ants first. When you make sure that the ants are not there, then you, for example, when I take shower, the place where I take shower, because that is just by myself, then in the very hot weather, say the floor of the bathroom, the shower room, the floor gets dried very easily, and the insects can come very easily. If it remains wet all the time, then the ants cannot come. But was one person just take shower one day, once a day, and then the rest of the day is very dry, so the ants can come. When ants come, and then sometimes they make a hole the root. And then so when I take the shower, I'll say, although the ants they don't really make, they did not make any root there, just make sure that by accident there could be one or two ants here and there. I make sure that there's no ant there. Just remove them. Make sure that if there's one, just make sure that you remove that insect. Remove that only, then you take the shower. Okay. In other words, the insects we have to remove it if you want infinite happiness. If this is your goal, eventually, then this is a way. Yeah. And of course, more to discuss on this part, depending on how much questions come from you. A lot to discuss on this about how to go about protecting the animals, how to build your compassion, and how to expect the infinite happiness on that basis. Okay, Tripiji.
Geshe-la. Geshe-la, if you've already done a lot of negative actions, for example, I was a non-vegetarian till 2 years ago. I'm only a vegetarian now, so must have eaten a lot of meat, which has caused suffering to animals. What can one do in this lifetime to counteract that?
Okay, so basically the point is that this is again a very practical question. The one thing is that the one thing is to how to make it is to say, if possible, try to practice compassion and try to encourage others into vegetarianism, but skillfully, not aggressively. Some people who advocate vegetarianism, they're very aggressive. Then I'm a little scared to even see these people, you know. So to be vegetarian means to be gentle on others. Instead of being gentle, they're very aggressive. I'm vegetarian. I'm vegetarian. Even to just hear what they're talking, I simply don't like to hear their voice. It's aggressive. It's simply my mind, although it's just words, there's nothing really happening. My mind is like stirred like this, a very ferocious wave happening. So I don't want to stay away from these very aggressive vegetarian promoters. I'm vegetarian and I promote vegetarianism, but I don't really agree with people who aggressively, who condemns who are non-vegetarian and so forth. I don't agree with these people. To be very honest, we should be very skillful. In other words, very skillfully, very gently, in a very appealing way, encourage others to engage in virtues or to engage in vegetarianism. One thing. And the other thing is that pray that I don't repeat this mistake in the rest of my life and in the future lives. Pray. And then they are all these beings who died for my food. I pray that all the good qualities that I achieve, like compassion, wisdom, and so forth, the first being with whom I'm to share these should be these beings who died for my food. Let they be the recipient, the first recipients of the achievements of compassion and the wisdom, and so forth. Yeah, and pray for them. Yeah, good. That's it. Okay, good. We'll stop here with the dedication prayer. Okay, we'll do the short dedication prayer. Let us pray that His Holiness the Dalai Lama, the true source of joy and happiness on this earth, that he lives long and that his wishes are fulfilled spontaneously. Just imagine that if he's the leader of the world is going to be very different. No doubt. All the citizens of the world will find peace, harmony, and dignity, a sense of dignity. This is what everybody's going to feel. Okay, so, and also let us pray that COVID-19 subsides from this world altogether as soon as possible. Let us pray that all the people who died to this COVID-19, they meet with the Dharma of compassion, infinite compassion, and the wisdom, so that each one of them will become the guide, the beacon of hope and solace to all the other sentient beings. Let's also pray that all the beings who died otherwise as well, and alongside all the beings in the hospitals, in ICUs, in the respective houses, in such a difficult, difficult stage, that they all revive, that they all be healed, and that they have good time together with the parents, with the children, with the family members, and so forth, that happiness be proliferate in this world. So let's pray that the teaching of the Buddha, the teaching on unconditional love, teaching of the wisdom to dispel the darkness of ignorance, these two teachings flourish in the minds of all general sentient beings. Okay. With this mind, let's recite the following verses. In the land encircled by snow mountains, you are the source of all happiness and good. All powerful generous Tenzin Gyatso, please remember until samsara ends. Just as brave Manjushri summoned about her troop, realize things as they are, also I dedicate all these merits in the best way that I may follow their perfect example. I dedicate all these rules of virtue with the dedication praised as the best by all the Buddhas who appeared in the 3 times, so that I might perform the noble Bodhisattva's deeds. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I journey the mind of full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. I go for refuge to the triple gem. I confess the negativities individually. I rejoice the virtues of all the beings. I hold the precious brotherhood in my heart. By the power of practicing and supplicating to you, may all be free from sickness, poverty, and conflicts, and may Dharma and the auspiciousness proliferate in all the places where we abide. May no living creature ever suffer, commit wrong, or ever fall ill. May no one be afraid or belittled, or the minds ever be depressed. May all the pains of living creatures rather soon upon myself, and through the might of the Bodhisattva Sangha, may all beings experience happiness. A path of union and emptiness with compassion is loosely explained by the protector Buddha Dhamma and the beings Leonard knows. You are the lotus holder Tenzin Gyatso. We are supplicating you that your wishes are fulfilled spontaneously. May the operations of evil thoughts and deeds of the negative forces of humans and non-humans who harbor malice through perverted prayers against the teachings of the Buddhas be truly vanquished through the power of the truth of 3 jewels. By the dependent realization of profound sessions of appearance and emptiness, together with the force of great compassion of the 3 jewels and the power of the truth, and the virtual infallible of karmas and the truths, may this fruitful prayer of ours be unhindered and quickly fulfilled. May the teachings of this beneficent one till world's end be unshaken by the winds of evil thoughts. May it always be met by innumerable beings who find conviction in the teacher by understanding the teaching's true nature. May it never falter, even for an instant, to uphold the excellent work of sage, which illuminates the principle of dependent origination. Through all my birth, never giving away my body's life, may I spend day and night carefully reflecting by what means can I enhance this teaching achieved by the Supreme Savior through strenuous efforts over countless aeons. Throughout my future lifetimes, may always be guided by the Manjushri and be able to uphold the Dharma in general and the teachings of dependent origination, even in the course of my life. Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhiswatyata Om Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhiswatyata Om Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhiswaha. Okay. Bye-bye. See you all next time.
Thank you, Geshe-la.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Geshe-la.
Thank you,
Geshe-la.
Geshe-la.
Thank you, Geshe-la.
Thank you, Geshe-la. Thank you so much. Thank you, Geshe-la.
Thank you so much, Geshe-la. Thank you. Thank you. And Dharma as well.